Alkyl halides are capable of undergoing elimination reaction and substitution reaction. Now, elimination reaction we have already seen in your hydrocarbon lecture. So, we can have our alkyl halide, remove a molecule of HX to give you C double bond C. If you want detailed explanation of this, you can go to the hydrocarbon lecture that I have done. So, you can end up with a C double bond C. Also, we can do removal of dihalogen to a C double bond C using zinc. So, we have seen this as well, and also if you remove 2 HX from this, you can end up with a triple bond. So, this is elimination reaction. I am not going to be going much detailed into elimination reaction because we have already covered that in your hydrocarbon lecture. If you want a good primer, go and watch that video just once. Now, going into nucleophilic substitution reaction. Now, your Rx, the X component is a CX bond. Now, this is delta minus, this is delta plus because of the electronegativity difference. Now, this can undergo nucleophilic substitution reaction. I can change this nucleophile for a stronger nucleophile. A couple of things that you want to know. The reactivity order is your CX. If you take it as CX, CI is more reactive than CBr, more reactive than CCl, more reactive than CF. So, an alkyl iodide will react faster than alkyl bromide compared to an alkyl chloride compared to an alkyl fluoride. Similarly, order of the carbon, a 3 degree alkyl halide will react much faster than a 2 degree than a 1 degree. Owing to the crowd around the carbon atom, and also if it undergoes a SN1 mechanism, 3 degree will obviously give you a much more stable carbocation. Now, among 1 degree, your methyl will react faster than your ethyl, faster than your propyl. The inductive effect of this contribute to a factor. So, you just want to remember them, make sure you understand them and remember them. So, these are the order in which you are going to have nucleophilic substitution reaction. Now, how does a nucleophilic substitution reaction work? So, I have my carbon, then let us say 4 groups are attached, however we want to draw. So, let us assume that there is a halogen here, these are 3 other groups and a nucleophile is going to come. The nucleophile can come and attack this and go away, or this can leave right away and then the nucleophile can come. So, we always have a competition of SN1 versus SN2. Again, SN1 versus SN2, I have done a separate lecture for that. You can go through this. SN1 is when the halogen goes, you form a carbocation and then carbocation rearranges and you form a nucleophile comes and attacks the carbon cation. Whereas SN2 is when the nucleophile attacks the same time when the X is going to leave. Now, depending on the type of carbon, you can have SN1 or SN2 or both of them depending on the type of carbon. Here is a list of how the reactivity order is going to be when you are given a different type of carbon, 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree. A 3 degree carbon undergoes in SN1 type because it gives you a much more stable carbocation. It seldom undergoes SN2, very less, that is negligible. Whereas when you take a primary, it undergoes only SN2, it rarely undergoes SN1 because primary does not give a more stable carbocation. So, it undergoes in SN2. Whereas when you take a secondary, it undergoes both, and for you guys, unless the examiner tells you which is going to be predominant, you can go with SN1 for secondary as well. Now, needless to say, your allylic and benzylic are always going to be SN1 because they give very stable carbocation. We have seen this before, just a quick refresher. If it undergoes SN2 reaction, the nucleophile attacks at the same time the X is going to leave. So I am attacking on the opposite side. The final configuration that you are going to have is inversion of configuration completely 100%. Whereas when you go for SN1, as I can show you here, you form a carbocation that is trigonal planar. So it's like a planar compound. So the incoming nucleophile can come and attack both sides. So one side, the same side where the nucleophile left, the halogen left, if the nucleophile comes, that is retention of configuration. If the nucleophile comes on the other side, that is inversion of configuration. Knowing all this, let's look into the type of reaction that an alkyl halide can undergo depending on the nucleophile. Here I have given you the list of nucleophile, and if you can see, the first three can give you an alcohol, a OH group. Here you want to be very careful. You want a OH donor, and first one is very simple, water or OH minus. Here what it means is the one in the black above the arrow is the reagent, and the red one is basically the nucleophile that is eventually going to replace X. So water has OH minus inside it, so that is a nucleophile that is going to replace. Aqueous KOH has OH minus. Here it has to be aqueous KOH because alcoholic KOH will give you the elimination product. Similarly, you can do NaOR or RO minus, it's basically Williamson's ether synthesis. Similarly, if you see here, I have also put lithium aluminum hydride, H minus is the nucleophile, you can end up getting an alkane, and also a primary amine can end up giving you a secondary amine. Now there are two reactions that are very specific for alkyl halide with a corresponding nucleophile. You can use KCN or AgCN. When you look at the molecule, it looks like both of them are same nucleophile, CN minus, but the corresponding product you get are completely different. When you use your KCN, in KCN, it's an ionic compound, so you actually have K plus and Cn minus, and the minus sign is on the carbon actually. So that carbon is the one that is going to attack. The carbon of the Cn attacks the R group, so hence you get RCN. Whereas when you have AgCN, it's a covalent compound, so you don't have Ag plus and Cn minus coming out, so the carbon is not nucleophilic. So the carbon is not going to have electrons to go and attack the Rx. So hence the lone pair of nitrogen is going to go and attack. So hence you are going to have an isocyanide. The same can be said for a reaction of Rx with KNO2 and AgNO2. KNO2 being ionic and AgNO2 being covalent. You end up getting different product for the exact same principle. So in terms of KNO2, you end up getting a nitrite, whereas AgNO2 gives you a nitroalkane. We have seen the reactions of alkyl halides. Let's look into aryl halide. An aryl halide is something that has a halogen atom attached directly to the ring. Now, an aryl halide has a unique property of being in resonance with the ring. So, because of that, you have a partial double bond character. Now, because I have a partial double bond character, it is not easy to break the CX bond like your alkyl halide. So, this is less reactive than your alkyl halides. That does not mean that I cannot actually do a substitution reaction. We can do a substitution here in this ring. We can take the X and put a new nucleophile in there. So, we can do a nucleophilic substitution reaction in the ring. So, it becomes an aromatic nucleophilic substitution reaction. And this is the only aromatic nucleophilic substitution reaction that is in NEET syllabus. All the other ones in aromatic compounds are electrophilic aromatic substitution. This is nucleophilic aromatic substitution. Now, if I were to substitute a nucleophile like X here that is attached to the carbon with the partial double bond character, then it means I have to put in more energy. So, you need higher temperature and high pressure to get this reaction done. And the most common example that you guys already know, you would have come across, and that's in your syllabus, is Dow's process. Here if you see in Dow's process, chlorobenzene is treated with sodium hydroxide, but you need a very high temperature and pressure. As always in NEET, you don't need to remember the exact temperature and pressure, just know that it is very high temperature and pressure. You end up getting the corresponding sodium phenoxide, Because it is sodium hydroxide, if you form phenol, it will become sodium phenoxide. That sodium phenoxide can be converted into phenol. Now, if I want to make this reaction under a milder condition, what I want is a deactivating group. So, I put an NO2 group that is in resonance with the Cl. Now, you don't need to worry about the mechanism for this. So, if I put NO2 group, my conditions come down. When I used to have 623 Kelvin, now I just need to do at a lower temperature. So, it's easily substituted. But if I keep adding more NO2 groups, you can see the condition becomes milder and milder, such that if I have 3 NO2 groups, I can just do it pretty close to room temperature with just water. I don't even need NaOH. The corresponding compound is arrived. Now here you can see that the trinitro substituted chlorobenzene is much more reactive than a dinitro compared to a nitrochlorobenzene compared to chlorobenzene. Again, the key point here is an electron withdrawing group is going to make nucleophilic aromatic substitution reaction in aryl halides much easier. Next we are going to see is how can we do electrophilic aromatic substitution in the corresponding aryl halides. The same effect is going to take place. I have a plus R effect, but it is very mild, and I have a minus I effect. But the plus R is mild because fluorine gives plus R, but its minus I electronegativity is so high that it takes pretty much everything that it wants to give back. Chlorine wants to give through plus R, it's not that electronegative compared to your fluorine, but chlorine and carbon are different periods, meaning the overlap of orbital is not great. So the plus R is not that strong, and also minus I is not that strong. Bromine all the more, less plus R, less minus I, and same with the iodine. So because of this, a combination of effect, when you put an electrophile along with a halobenzene, what you end up getting is a combination of these effects actually ends up giving you all three products, but your meta is going to be the least. It's less than 1%. So it's actually not considered a product. Your para is going to be the most. So para is considered the major product and ortho is considered the minor product. The order in which you get the products are para greater than, ortho greater than meta. You want to remember this for the inductive resonance effect of chlorine, bromine and iodine, and also fluorine. So you want to remember this. This is the order in which you get. This is pretty similar to what a OH would give you. OH is plus R minus I, so it will give you the same phenol. So same you are going to get here. Now what all electrophile can you do? One you can do is HNO3, H2SO4, the electrophile is NO2 plus. So you get the corresponding nitro compound. We can also do H2SO4, okay, you get the corresponding SO3H substituted. The most important reaction of an haloarene is Friedel-Crafts reaction. So in Friedel-Crafts reaction, you can have benzene or substituted benzene. It has to be activated ring, meaning the ring has to be electron rich. So when you treat it with Rx in presence of AlCl3 or any Lewis acid, you get the corresponding R group substituted. So this is an example of electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction. Now a couple of things we want to know. AlCl3, what is the purpose of AlCl3? It behaves as a Lewis acid, and the main purpose of that is it generates the electrophile. So in our case Rx, let's take it as RCl. AlCl3, it's a Lewis acid, it wants electrons, so it takes it from this chlorine, so you end up getting a R plus and AlCl4 minus. Now this R plus goes and attacks the ring wherever there is electron rich. If there is more than one different place possible, the R plus goes and attacks. For example, the ring is here and then R plus gives you the corresponding compound. Now here a couple of things you want to know is AlCl3 behaves as a Lewis acid, generates the electrophile. Electrophile in this case is a carbocation, meaning the carbocation will rearrange to give you the most stable carbocation that will get attached to the ring. The best example I can give you for that is when you take Cl plus AlCl3, you will end up getting CCC plus and AlCl4 minus. This will rearrange to a most stable isopropyl carbocation. When treated with benzene, it will give you isopropyl benzene or cumene. This actually came in NEET once. You want to be able to write down the rearranged carbocation that will end up forming the corresponding compound. This is pretty straightforward. All you have to look into is, look at the R group that is given. They will give you the R group. If they give you methyl or ethyl, you don't have to worry because no rearrangement. The moment they give you propyl or anything larger than propyl, you have to look into, is it possible to get a rearranged carbocation, and then just attach the rearranged carbocation to this. This is Friedel-Crafts alkylation. The next is acylation. Acylation is much simpler. Instead of Rx, you have RCOX, acyl chloride. That's all. So the corresponding compound would be, I can write it here itself, RCOX AlCl3. I end up with C double bond group, R group. So acyl group. Now here I don't have any rearrangement. The electrophile is RCO plus. This is much easier. Now few things that you want to remember about Friedel-Crafts reaction. It has to be that the ring is activated. So benzene can undergo, your phenol can undergo, Rx can undergo. Actually, if this is a chlorine group here, it can undergo Friedel-Crafts reaction. Chlorobenzene can undergo because it is going to enrich the ring a little bit. But any time you have a deactivated group like nitro group attached, nitrobenzene will not undergo Friedel-Crafts reaction. Similarly, a phenyl ketone will not undergo Friedel-Crafts reaction because the C double bond O group, if it is attached to this one. For example, if I take this compound, I cannot do any more further Friedel-Crafts reaction because this is deactivating the benzene group. So this is one drawback of our Friedel-Crafts reaction. I cannot have a deactivated group. The other most important point that you want to know is the most activated compound that we know when I simply substitute the benzene ring is aniline. But aniline, NH2 group pumps the electron into the ring, so the ring is electron rich. But aniline will not undergo Friedel-Crafts reaction. You want to make sure you remember that because aniline is electron rich group, but also it's a Lewis base. It will react with Lewis acid. So the Lewis acid, instead of AlCl3 behaving like a catalyst, it will be behaving like a reagent joined with aniline to give you an adduct. So there is no chance of aniline meeting with Rx. So because AlCl3 does not produce the necessary electrophile with aniline, instead it joins with aniline, so aniline does not give you Friedel-Crafts reaction. There is another major drawback of Friedel-Crafts reaction. Whatever you get, this can undergo further Friedel-Crafts reaction because this is now activated ring. This can combine with more of Rx and give you multi-substituted product. This is also possible with Friedel-Crafts reaction. For example, if you take CCl4 and you do Friedel-Crafts reaction, here is an example of what will happen. If you see, the Friedel-Crafts reaction will keep continuing because everything is in one vessel, one chamber. So it will end up giving you polysubstituted product. This is also a problem with Friedel-Crafts reaction. The last thing that I want to discuss with alkyl halides is, when you treat an alkyl halide with a nucleophile, the problem could be the nucleophile is also a base. So for a given nucleophile, it is going to decide whether it wants to behave as a nucleophile or it wants to behave as a base. If it behaves as a nucleophile, it can replace the X and sit in that place. So it's a substitution reaction. But if it chooses to behave as a base, it will actually end up in elimination product. So you need to know when it will behave as a nucleophile and when it will behave as a base. But the reality is actually much more complicated. In a given reaction, both a given nucleophile will behave partly as a base, and hence you give a different side products. Here is a basic outline of what you need to know between a given nucleophile behaving as a base versus a nucleophile. The relative proportion of products will depend on three factors, and I have outlined the factor. Basically, it will depend on the basicity of the nucleophile. If the nucleophile tries to behave more of a base, then obviously you will end up with the elimination product. Next thing is hindrance in the haloalkane. If the haloalkane is crowded, what will happen? And also, what about the nucleophile itself? What if it is bulky? The first factor, if you see, if you have weak bases, so the nucleophile will try to behave instead as a nucleophile, not as a base, because it's a weak base. Example, you see these bases, these are extremely weak, so they will lead to substitution reaction. Whereas if you use a strong base, it will try to behave as a base instead and give you elimination reaction. The second factor is the steric hindrance around the reacting carbon. If the carbon is extremely crowded, so it wants to get rid of the crowdedness, so it will end up in an elimination reaction. But sterically unhindered haloalkane like primary will give you more to a substitution, whereas sterically hindered one like secondary and more with tertiary, it will give you more possibility of elimination product. I am not saying here substitution will not happen, but there is a more possibility and more percentage of elimination product as well. And the last one that you want to know is steric hindrance of the nucleophile. Imagine you being a nucleophile and your size is too big, so you cannot fit into the place where a leaving group was sitting. So you will end up trying to be a nucleophile, but you don't have the place, so you will end up behaving like a base. So unhindered bases like OH minus or ethoxide, these will behave like a nucleophile because they have the space to sit in, whereas sterically hindered nucleophile like extremely big, tertiary butoxide, tosyl, all this will try to behave more like a base compared to a nucleophile and give you the elimination product. These are the basics of alkyl halides chapter. I pretty much summarized what all was in NCERT. This is more than enough in terms of the reaction that you need to know, but what you can never have enough is problems. You need to practice a lot of problems to know, and as I always say, solve your previous year questions, that is more than enough. And I'll try to solve the previous year question and post it as a separate video for you guys.